quick example, I often quote scripture. So I go to churches or various places and quote scripture. And I used to do that for 45 minutes at a time.
Wow.
Like 45 minutes of memorized material, which is a long time. I can't do that now. A, I get too tired, and B, my brain can't do it. But instead of giving up, I'm like, I'll add live music. Why not? They give people time to think, and it'll give people time to me to rest. And so, I tell part of the story, and somebody gets up and plays, a violin or a cello, and I sit down and look at the script and relax and get back up. So this innovation of like, well, have you really thought carefully about all the alternatives that might exist for you to keep going, but you just, you bend with the wave, you innovate, you find some way to keep doing what you want to do, even with this X problem, and you can do it. You hit a barrier, find a way around it, keep going, keep doing, innovate.
All right, Matthew, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks, Jason, for this.
The reason why I laugh there is that last month this was called the Power Up Project podcast, and now on 11/11 I launched my new company, which is called Beyond Hope Project.
Okay.
And I'm still in the process of training myself to re-say the right words. As I'm sure somebody delivers lines, you know exactly.
Yes, I do.
When somebody changes it, you're like, oh, but I got that one down. And that's exactly where I'm at. So what's interesting about this is that you and I have never talked.
Never talked.
Aside of just shaking hands right before we came in here.
That's right.
And that to me is exciting. And that is really cool. And I think that just in like reading your bio and everything, you and I are going to have a lot of crossroads that is going to be really cool to explore.
Cool.
But how we start out the podcast is with the question.
Mm-hmm.
And so the definition of hope that I use is it's a twofold thing. It's a starting point, okay? A start of your journey. It ignites the spark that will start your journey.
Mm-hmm.
And just like anybody, when you start a journey, you're going to fail. And you're usually going to fall off path one way or another, or sometimes you fall backwards. And we need a guide back to that path. That's also how I define hope. So what I'm interested in is that the start, and then how do I help people get back on their path?
Yeah.
So if you could go back in any point in your life and give yourself hope, knowing that definition, what would that look like? What age? Like what would you say?
Yeah, that's a great question. I got my MFA when I was 38, which is very unusual.
Mm.
So I was the old guy in all the classes. And it's funny because I had thought of myself as an imposter in a way, getting this degree. Because I auditioned, but the degree was set up for like successful sort of middle-aged actors. And that meant professional, right? So I've never been a professional actor in the sense of like, helping myself or living off what I earned as an actor. And so I've always been avocational about it. So anyways, it was a huge win for me to get into this MFA program because again, I felt like I'm not really the kind of person that they're after. But I got in, and if I could go back at graduation from this MFA and say, you have hope. There's hope that you're going to make it as a professional actor in Washington, D.C. or New York City or Los Angeles. I would, because, even with that degree, I just felt like I'm not that person. I'm not that good. I'm not going to make a living at this. And there were just a lot of doubts, even in the wake of receiving this diploma and accomplishing this, huge challenge of graduating from this program. So that would be it.
Yeah.
To go back at that stage of like trying to transition from school into like the real professional setting. And I didn't have the guts for it at that time.
Do you think that is the knowledge of going back and wanting to say that, if you hadn't had your diagnosis, would it have been the same advice?
Oh yeah. Even more so, I think.
Hmm.
If I had known I was going to get Parkinson's, at the age of 49, Oh yeah, man. All in.
Right.
Live it while you got it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that it's amazing when you get a diagnosis that, I mean, let's face it, kicks your knees out.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if like my whole thing was brain cancer.
Yeah.
And it's when you get that diagnosis, it kicks your knees out, but it's at the same time the awakening that happens. It's pretty profound.
It is profound.
And I think that before we dive all the way into it, I just want to say, just for me in your bio, I resonate so much with this idea of don't sit on the sidelines, like use this to help other people.
Yeah.
And it's odd because like, I'm going to guess, and I'm not to put words in your mouth, but like, you're probably built like me, that you're leading with your heart, not because you're wanting some accolades. You're wanting somebody to say, you almost want to catch somebody before they're at
Yeah.
that graduation. It
Yeah,
says like,
right.
yo, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Like, how much of that is driven by kind of that reflection you had of wanting to catch people before they
Yeah.
have the train hit them.
Yeah. When you say hope in the context of a neurodegenerative disease, that's a crazy animal, because people with degenerative diseases, well, I found they don't like the future. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the sense of hope, at the moment, there is no hope, and so it's easy for me to look into the future and just start catastrophizing.
Right.
Like, well, this bad thing's going to happen, and then I'm going to get this symptom, and then I'm going to get that symptom, and then, I'll be disabled totally. I'll be like one thing after another. And so, which is a little different than other maladies, like if you have something, but you get over it, and then, well, maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. But when you have a degenerative disease, right, there's this downhill slope, and that's what it looks like all the time. So catching people, as you're talking about, before the catastrophizing kicks in, is a really important place. And so that's kind of where I'm at as far as helping people see in themselves when they're catastrophizing and when they're not, and helping them stop it, overcome it, step aside from it.
Right.
That's important stuff. That's where hope gets going.
Yeah. And do you experience, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. So whenever people see my backpack, right, you have you shake, right?
Yeah, I shake.
It's just, we all have something that makes us stick out for whatever reason.
Yeah.
People will ask me, you must be really into hiking. Like, it's a camelback or whatever.
Okay.
I
thought it was a still suit from Dune or
something. Right. Everybody always thinks it's like a cooling device, or they'll ask all these questions. And it sucks, because then it means I'm going to have to answer it, and which is going to make them feel bad. And they're always going to say sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. What kind of, does that play a role for you as well? Like, it's because my answer always to that is, well, what are you sorry about? You didn't give it to me.
Yeah.
Like, and if you did, we need to talk. That's what I always like joke around with, to try to bring a little levity to the situation.
Yeah.
Do you find that that's the same sort of thing that happens to you as well? Is like, do you get people like that want to apologize because they're trying to say the right thing, but then you're like, but it makes you feel awkward? Do you ever experience that yourself?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But I'm very proactive.
Okay.
I'm like, I've got Parkinson's right off the bat.
Okay.
I mean, in almost any setting, because there's a vacuum of information, and it's going to get filled.
Yeah.
And so people fill it with, addiction recovery, or, I had a guy come up to me and say, "Thank you for your service." I'm like, dude, I love our military. I love our veterans. But he goes, "Really? My brother came back with that same shake. It was PTSD." I'm like, I have Parkinson's, He thought he was getting it confused. You know what I'm saying? Like, when people don't know, they fill in the gap, and it's hardly ever Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Particularly for someone my age. So I'm very proactive about telling. I go into a lot of situations, even I've had some job interviews, like, what? I don't want to show up on day one with this tremor people
Yeah.
wonder, what have we done?
Yeah.
Like, who did we hire? So I'm very proactive. I tell everybody right off the bat. I wear shirts that say I have Parkinson's disease. I'm not drunk.
Yes.
I'm not drunk. I'm not addicted to drugs. I have Parkinson's disease. So in that way, I encourage other people to have that same attitude.
Yeah.
Don't, in my view, and everyone's got to take it at their own pace, and I understand that, but tell people you have it,
Yeah.
and feel, let them know right away. And sometimes people try to say something like you're saying, but others just, oh, okay, and on you go.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I only get that at the airport. People
Yeah.
think I'm coming with a bomb. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
because
Yeah.
I have to go teed up and patted down because I have to go through I bypass whatever. And I'm like, there was one time the security guard was like, this dude over here is freaking out. He keeps asking what it is. And she's like, I told him like, it's none of his business. And she said that he thought it was a bomb. I was like, if this was a bomb, would that not be the worst? Like, I'm going to come with like a backpack with wires that are attached to my head. Like, come on. Like,
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
But it's interesting to me, like, because it's interesting to me because I'm the opposite of that in a weird way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I have this huge fear. I don't want to be cancer guy.
Oh, okay.
Because I want to use my story to help people waking up to their life.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that I would be known as the brain cancer guy sucks to me. So it's really interesting to hear that. And I love that perspective too, because you're right. It takes away people's bullshit narratives they're going to make up about what they assume about you.
But if you were the brain cancer guy, maybe it would attract other brain cancer people.
Right. And that's where I don't like it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think what it is that you talk about like, not wanting to look into the future. For me, think about you're in movies, like how do they whack characters? Brain cancer, right?
Oh, yeah, well, that's kind of true.
And it's weird and it's hard for me. And I don't know if you have the same scenario, but it's hard because I'm assuming with Parkinson's, it's different for everyone.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And so in my case, it's different with everyone too. I was lucky in the sense mine was completely removed and I'm young and, there was a lot of good stuff to it. But it's hard to hear somebody else's story and not make it mine. That's where I find the hard part is drawing that line. And it's almost the flip of what you're saying. Like the narratives, I create the narrative of, well, I have to always remind myself like, well, that's their story. It's not my story. It doesn't apply. So it's interesting to hear that perspective because it's kind of a flip, but at the same time, we're both doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Of raising awareness through our stuff, but just a different approach. So I'm just curious, like what the play, like how much going into the diagnosis was there between diagnosis and then I got to write this?
Yeah. About 2 years. So 2019, I was diagnosed. I had the tremor for about a year before that.
Okay.
Started up during a Buckeye football game. And to this day, like my tremor's always way worse during a Buckeye football game. Because I'm involved sort of physically with it. It's kind of interesting. Like I'm trying to help people physically, like run faster, man, run faster, because we're no good in the red zone. You got to get a touchdown now. So, so I wrote the play. I was in a play and the tremor was kicking up, and that's what motivated me. I'm like, I'm on the verge of ending my acting career here. Because you can do all the Shakespeare in the Park that you want, but not every character's got a tremor, right? I'm not going to play Richard III all the time. So like, I've got to create my own work, right? I've got to have a play that I can be in and still have the tremor. So that came about. So it seems to me, it seems a little selfish as far as a reason to write a play, but I wanted to tell other people's story, but primarily I wanted to carry on with my career. But as I got into it and started to write it, I realized it was a little selfish, but I have other good reasons too. People need to know this. This is the fastest growing brain disorder in the world. Parkinsons.
Mm.
And no one knows jack squat about it.
Right.
I know Michael J.
I was going to
Fox,
say, yeah.
one point of reference.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? There are a couple now, but there aren't movies about it. There's not TV shows about it compared to like Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah.
So number one, I wanted to have something I could do, carry on my career. And number two, take away this, like, who knows anything about Parkinson's, because it's coming.
Right.
If it's the fastest growing brain disorder in the world, there's going to be a wave of people having Parkinson's, and we should know about it and figure it out and bring more attention to it, more funding for research and whatnot. And as I started doing the play, I just realized this is a big, encouragement's not quite the right word, but I have so many people that come up at the end of the play and say, I feel seen. I feel heard. Like the things the characters were saying on stage, that's what I feel. That's what I think. And it seems crazy to them, particularly care partners. Because care partners aren't allowed to say something like, I'm sick of this. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of you. I'm tired, like I want out. Or I got to do something. You know what I mean? Care partners, you can't say that.
Right.
So when they hear that kind of thing in the play, it's like a relief, like my thoughts aren't nuts. My thoughts aren't crazy. Other people experience this too. So that's tremendously fulfilling. And so that combination of me continuing to work, telling the general public what's going on, but also to help PD patients and care partners, help them realize this is normal. You're going to make it. You can get through this.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. That's awesome. I commend you for that. My follow-up to that was going to be if people are coming up to you and afterwards and finding, being seen or any of those things like that. It's really cool. And do you find that is encouraging you to want to, do more stuff with it? Like, are you working on leaning into it even further? Like,
Yeah, we're Parkinson's the musical. I'm kidding, man.
Okay. All right.
Did I stump Jason? Jason was speechless just for a moment.
Okay.
No, I'm not doing Parkinson's the musical. But what we do now, Jason, is we have the play and then we have a 20-minute discussion about it. So it's kind of like a town hall about Parkinson's, and people sometimes tell a bit of their story, or they tell how they relate to the play, or they complain about the play sometimes. But what's happened is at the end of that, I haven't done a great job of providing resources. And so where I'm leaning in is to have the play, but also for people, I don't want anyone walking out of that show without a number to call or a person to talk to or a support group to connect with. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's make sure people have the resources that they need. And the next step for Lamp and Light Productions is to have a one-stop shop for Parkinson's in Columbus. And so I'm kind of saying this publicly for the first time, but, I'm kind of tired of and feel badly about people half knowing, like, oh, I found out about this. Oh, we're having a Michael J. Fox conference, in Columbus. Oh, it was last month. Oh, no. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, there's so many things going on, and there's all these different exercise places you can go to. There's support groups online and not. So there's just a ton of things, and people find out about it sort of piecemeal.
Right.
Like, man, let's make a one-stop shop. It's too important, and you waste too much time not knowing all that's possible.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. My first doc told me I'd be dead in 7 months.
Wow.
Straight up within 2 minutes of meeting me.
Yeah. Wow.
Needs to say they're not my doc anymore. But it is, when you're diagnosed, a confusing and lonely spot.
Yeah.
Because you're just really kind of looking for a light, because it's like you got kicked with something kind of crazy. And I was frustrated by the amount of digging that I had to do to find something that wasn't, you're going to be dead in 7 months.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was and it was in the UK, finding a guy that, like 3 guys that
Hmm.
were 10 years still.
Wow.
And you're like, none of them had treatment. So you're like, oh my God, there is the
Wow.
light post. So I think that's a wonderful idea what you're talking about, because I think there's got to be somebody, we're kind of joking about the Michael J. Fox things, but at the same time, you're kind of like, okay, at least this guy's using his celebrity to be like, this exists in this way.
Right.
And it also shows you as somebody that's newly diagnosed, okay, yeah, he's got crazy tremors and he's making it very public so he can kind of be there, right? But he's here. He's still living a life. He's still got his family. And a lot of times I think a lot of us really just kind of need just something that just says like,
Yeah, right. I get what you're saying. And I hope I am that on some level, because I've received that from other people of like, well, he's still doing his thing. He's still going on. He's making a life, and dealing with things as they come. And, so that's fulfilling, of course, if I can be that for someone, like I can still create,
yeah,
I can still do creative work, I can still make an impact. And, you know, there's, yeah, it's all about purpose,
yeah,
isn't it? It's all about purpose to me. Like I can get up in the morning, I can do my exercises if I know that I've got a performance in 2 weeks and I have to be at my best. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
I have to keep moving on and to find that purpose, because I want to keep doing this play and it's important to me, and I think it's important to the public, and especially important to PD folks. And you know, keep your voice intact, keep your mental power intact, and
yeah.
all that. So
I'm just curious, like, and I don't know, I don't want this to sound personal or whatever, but like, and if it is, just say no, dude, too much. But like, how do you deal with like the days where you don't want to do or you can't do? What makes that next day where you go like, is there a point where you go like, all right, dude, stop this spiral,
Hmm.
get off your ass and figure
Yeah.
out?
I would say for me, it's wanting to do good work. Like I want to do high quality, good work. And so I've been an actor long enough to know that if I don't memorize these lines by this date before the show opens, you know what I'm saying? I'm not
Yeah,
going to be doing good work,
yeah,
and I want to do good work. And
yeah,
so there's this, yeah, I've had a bad day, but okay, that deadline's coming up for me to memorize these lines. I got to do it. I'm going to do it because I want it to be good,
yeah,
and particularly with Parkinson's, I don't want them, well, he's not so good because he has got Parkinson's kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like I want to excel and achieve and do good work with Parkinson's.
yeah.
And so that's what kicks my butt out of bed.
That's awesome, and I love that. Like it's a bigger mission, right? It's
Mm.
almost like you're saying like my mission is bigger than
Mhm.
my Parkinson's. Parkinson's is the stuff I got to deal with
Yeah.
to get to my mission.
Right.
And I love the fact that like it's not changed. Like like you said, you went back to school later and you
Mhm.
graduated this, and you probably went against all these people going like, "What the hell are you doing?" Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're like, now look what I'm doing, and it is really really cool. There's a kind of off topic for a second, but there's this kid, I watched his documentary. He's a singer. I don't know if you've seen his clips on like TikTok. He's from Ireland, I believe,
Mhm.
and I can't think of his name. He's a bigger kid, but he has Parkinson's, and
Oh,
he
wow.
is hugely popular, like
Really?
massive. And he sings in these stadiums, and it's obviously younger kids,
Yeah.
and he has a big tremor in the middle of a song, and you can see the frustration,
Mhm.
and he kind of walks away from the mic, and all of a sudden the crowd starts singing his song.
Hmm.
And he gets back to the mic and he tries it again and he stumbles and he can't, and the crowd just takes over the rest of the song.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I think the beauty in what your experience and what he experiences, I think what I experience and what anybody that really kind of leans into that stuff does, is that it's a unifying factor that
Mhm.
shows humanity.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm just curious, have you found a different level of humanity in leaning into your issues where you become more patient with people,
Oh,
or
yeah.
you,
Empathy, man.
yeah.
People who are slow.
Mm.
I empathize with people who are slow because I'm slow.
Yeah.
they're rickety, they're creaky, they get up, maybe they lose track of something mentally. Man, I used to just, "Well, hurry up, let's go. Come on, what's the holdup?" But yeah, it's emotional for me. Uh, my dad had Parkinsonian symptoms, and he froze one day. Freezing is a Parkinson's side effect. Freezing, where you just can't take a step.
Hmm.
So my dad's in the middle of Walmart and he freezes, but he doesn't know he's freezing. Like, at this point, he hadn't been, diagnosed with Parkinson's or Parkinsonian symptoms. And a veteran came up to him because he was just standing still in the middle of Walmart for, I don't know, 2 to 3 full minutes. A veteran takes him by the arm, says, "Let's go sit down." So my dad was able to unfreeze, you know what I'm saying? And so that's the kind of thing of shared humanity. Like, I get you, man.
Yeah.
Let's walk forward together, hand in hand. So I love that story.
That's a great, and I think that it's moments like that that I think for me, it gives me hope, like that
Yeah.
people can see, like everybody's going through stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it's to learn how to park yours at the door and understand that person, like you said, it's going slow.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You have no clue
Right.
what is happening. And it's through the empathy that you can just completely, I mean, I can't imagine being your dad of what it felt like that somebody cared.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't the guy didn't pay for his groceries or didn't do.
Yeah.
He just cared enough to take him by the arm.
Right.
And I think what you're doing with your play is that with people, it's you're taking what is an unseen thing, because I mean, I had somebody close to me that had Parkinson, and he was the hardest working dude. And I just remember, like, every time I'd see him, it would just kind of progress.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking to see, because you're just like, there's nothing you can do. Like some days the meds would work. Some days it seemed like, I'd see him and it was like way worse. And it's frustrating to, like, as an outside viewer, and I can only imagine what it must be like inside. So for you to be able to take that and form it into a play, I hope for you that you've taken the time to feel that when people are giving you that feedback, because not everybody gets a chance to do that in their life. And
that's true.
If I'm sure all the awards and all that stuff like that feel great, but I'm just curious, like, how does that feel compared to somebody coming up to you and saying,
yeah, no contest.
Yeah.
The accolades, to be doing important, life-changing work now there's nothing better, and I had a lady, we got done with the play and we're starting the talk back, and she raised her hand in the back. She's like, she stood up and she walked to the back and she says, like, "My dad's got Parkinson's and I'm going right now. I'm going right now. I'm going to leave right now. I'm going to go see him." She's just kind of shouting this in the back of the auditorium. She says, "I'm leaving right now. I'm going to see him. This play inspired me to take better care of my dad." And she did. She just walked right out of the auditorium. We all knew that she was on her way to see her dad.
Yeah.
And you can't beat that, man.
Yeah.
Can't beat it.
And that's the stuff that, I think this is where the kindred spirit comes into play.
Yeah.
Is when you go through something, I mean, there's no other way. It shatters your world.
Yeah.
Because it's not like some people can wake up and go, "Oh, well, I'm quitting a job and I got a new start and I'm going to have to figure myself out."
Yeah.
Like, we're dropped this bomb in our lap that says, like, "Here you go." And then you try to find stuff and there's no good stuff out there. And you have to really find the hope, right? And
you do.
Find the things.
Particularly when the bomb keeps exploding.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Right.
Degenerative disease. Like, you get this and then you're at that stage and you're at that stage, and it keeps coming unglued all the time. And so at each stage, you have to re-find something hopeful.
And do you, when you're going through the process, are there things that work one day and then the next they don't? Or is there like Have you found a rhythm that works for you? And is that part of the stage too? Like something else? So like,
Yeah.
how
Yeah,
much
yeah.
adjusting do you have to do to, your everyday living?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's for one thing, I've tried a lot of stuff, a lot of alternative therapies. But with Parkinson's, it's hard to determine if it's really helping or not. It's very elusive.
Mm,
Like like maybe I feel better, maybe I don't. Do I feel better? I think I feel better. No, the next day, like, no, I don't feel better.
mm.
It's this ongoing sort of, for me, it's been very elusive because I've tried, red light therapy, cryotherapy, hyperbaric chambers, I've tried all kinds of stuff. And like neurofeedback is one. I'm not recommending these for anybody, by
Yeah,
the
no, I
way,
totally
listening
get
to
it.
these.
Totally
It's
understand.
something that I tried and like, I think it's happening. I don't know. So that's what's sort of disappointing is like to try all these things and not, not have something specific
Yeah.
coming out of it. And I lost my train of thought, honestly, of what question you were asking, but
No, you answered beautiful. Like it was along the exact lines of like if once you get things set, like trying different things and
trying new
trying new things,
things.
and if one works and then it doesn't, like you deal with like to draw a parallel between us, I'm now MRIs every three months.
Mm.
Well, in between them, I feel fine.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the drive there, and I have a routine that I do is that I have to drive by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And on the drive, I let myself feel all the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And when I walk in the door, I make myself check them there because I know I did everything I could
Yeah.
at that point. So I'm preparing myself
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
never know, right? Like
That's right.
what has been working might not
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And I guess if you were to like take what you've kind of learned like that and bundled up for somebody that right now is at home hearing this and they're going like, Jesus, like I need to get my shit together. And like, I thought I had it rough or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe I should try to do my thing now or whatever. What would you say is like a good, solid starting point advice for somebody that needs that kick in the butt, like that wake up call to just try the one little thing that might make them
Right.
a little closer?
Well, first of all, it's just flat out time. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running out of time. Um, I'm on a path that in so many years X is supposed to happen, and in that another set of years X is supposed to happen. I'm trying to get off that timeline, but nonetheless, it speaks to the necessity of you don't know how much time you have, and time's passing quickly. And the other thing I'd say is to innovate. Because once you do start, you're going to hit some barriers,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to find a way around them. And so, quick example, I often quote scripture. So I go to churches or uh, various places and quote scripture. And I used to do that for 45 minutes at a time,
Wow.
like 45 minutes of memorized material, which is a long time. I can't do that now.
Mm-hmm.
A, I get too tired, and B, my brain can't do it. But instead of giving up, I'm like, I'll add live music. Why not? They give people time to think, and it'll give people time to me to rest. And so, I tell part of the story, and somebody gets up and plays, a violin or a cello, and I sit down and look at the script and relax and get back up. So,
Yeah.
this innovation of like, well, have you really thought carefully about all the alternatives that might exist for you to keep going, but you just, you know, you bend with the wave, you innovate, you find some way to keep doing what you want to do, even with this X problem, and you can do it.
Yeah.
You hit a barrier, find a way around it, keep going, keep doing, innovate.
Yeah, I love that. I think so many people, especially young people, think that their dreams, it's like point A, point B.
Oh yeah, right.
But what they don't understand is when you look back at that line that you thought was straight,
Yeah, it's all over the place.
it is like it's a scribbled up mess.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of innovating because I think that a lot of times people just quit because they think it's not right. It's like, but you're
It's
like,
over. Or
yeah,
I'm done now.
right. And I wonder, like in the Parkinson research, like how is what you're doing typical, or are you finding that most people kind of
on a faster path.
Fat, like, do they not typical in terms of like your symptoms, typical in the sense of do a lot of people feel motivated to do something like you're doing, or do they kind of just accept it and kind of just,
Yeah,
well,
that's a good
yeah.
question. I had the benefit, it's a very odd way of saying the benefit of being young onset.
Mm,
So I think there's a difference between getting this diagnosis when you're 77,
right.
right? You're retired, you're kind of looking at the end of your life in a way, by the math. But I was 49 at the time.
Wow.
I'm 53.
Right.
I'm like, I can't, what am I going to sit on a couch and,
Right.
you know, decay away? That's just impossible. And then to catch the fire of becoming an advocate. So now I want to tell other people about Parkinson's, warn them, or help them or educate them or comfort them, whatever it might be. And so, yeah, so I think there's a big difference. Yeah, I don't, people go one way or another. And sometimes I go to my exercise class. I do a exercise with David Zid, it's a Parkinson's specific exercise boot camp. And I show up there and I think, how many people with Parkinson's are just sitting on the couch this morning,
Mm,
while we're blasting away,
yeah.
doing as much as we can, as fast as we can. And it makes me sad,
Yeah.
right? Because I just know there's a lot of people who just, they get this diagnosis and they don't have any light
Mm,
in their life. And like, oh no, here we go. And they just decline.
yeah.
So, man, if I can help anybody change that trajectory, that's awesome.
I think that's wonderful that you're able to do that for people, because I think that you know it's that whole thing of like I've talked with my wife about it a bunch. It's like what if this was all part of what I was supposed to
Hmm.
have happen to me
Mm-hmm.
in order to bring about this hope or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
to the world, because I've always felt even as a kid different than everybody else,
Really?
and being able to, I don't know what you call it, pick up a vibe on people, or just empathy was never hard,
Hmm.
but loneliness was always
Oh,
my
wow, yeah.
thing as a kid. And I think it was because like I knew I was different and I couldn't like relate to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting to hear the way you're describing it, how similar
Hmm.
it is to the way I feel about my stuff, but at the same time the way we go about it is different, right? But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, it's the same. It's
Yeah.
a weird, and it's interesting because the reason why I asked you that before was that I've found in cancer patients a lot of times, I always say there's like three little camps. It's like you have the first camp that hears the doctor say it's 7 months, and sure enough, it's 7 months.
Yeah, right.
Then you got the second one that says, okay, well, I'll do the chemo and I'll do the standard of care and all that stuff like that. And it all works,
Mm-hmm.
but they never get past the diagnosis. They
Mm-hmm.
freeze in time. Everything happens to them.
Yeah, right.
Then you have the third group, which is where I feel like I fall into, which is like, this is what you got, this is what it's gonna be. And they go, yeah, not me.
Yeah.
And you kind of like go and you're trailblaze. And I wonder for you, is there a little bit of that in you that says, yeah, I get the timelines and the stats and I get
Mhm.
all this stuff, but I could be different than all of those things. Do you ever go through that yourself?
Yeah,
Or
I think that on some level, I've had it for almost 5 years, and you know, I'm taking increasing amounts of meds. It's not like it's not progressing,
sure.
but I get to do something exciting, right, to me about it, and so that just keeps carrying the day for me. It's like I get to put on this play. I get to educate the public and encourage care partners and PD patients, and you know, so I think I get your camp idea for sure. And I know people, man, they got the diagnosis and like, yep. And it's such a mind game, man. It is such a mind game, and your mindset about it, because it's so the catastrophizing is this a real thing. I just
Yeah.
keep bringing that up because what happens is I'm sitting on the couch and my other leg twitches, my good leg, like, oh crap, like,
Right.
is that it? Like, oh now it's on my other leg, and oh no, now I can't swallow very well, or oh no, like I'm starting not to smell things, or I mean, there's this huge long list of side effects of, and you play this mind game of like, I think I'm getting it. I think that's, yeah, I'm getting it. This is the second time I've had that. No, so now I check another box on the list. And if you can find just enough sort of mental capacity to push past that acceptance in a bad way, and just find, no, that's not my left leg. It's not getting involved. And here I go. I think people, I mean, even on a tiny level, people do that with colds, right? I'm catching a cold. Oh no, I'm getting a cold at the worst possible time. And then, to tell your brain, no, I'm not getting a cold. I'm going to be fine.
Right.
And your body responds to that on some level.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm trying to think of a really cool way to wrap this up. And first off, I'm like so in awe of what you're doing, in helping people and all that stuff. It's admirable, and I look up to you for that.
Oh,
It is really, really, really cool.
wow.
And I guess my curiosity is that if you were to take what you know here, and knowing that this might progress or whatever, there's a chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And taking all the stuff that we just shared about now, what would you build for the future 2 years from now, to make sure that you didn't forget about now? That maybe somebody that is going through their low spot right now could kind of like draw a little inspiration for
Mm-hmm.
or from through your struggles, that you at the same time could be like, don't forget.
Mm-hmm.
They also said this, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, I think the word I would say is not, not to accept what would seem natural. By that, I mean, all right, I've got a tremor and I can't be an actor anymore because I've got this tremor and it's on stage and it'll distract everybody. Well, I wrote a play that I can be in with my tremor. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm back to this word innovate, of like, don't necessarily accept sort of the widely accepted idea that now I can't, or now I can, or now this is done in my life. Innovate, find some way, it exists.
yeah,
There'll be a path,
yeah.
and you have to work at it, but find a way. You're going to hit barriers, find a way around them.
Man, that's great. That's great. So if somebody's out, we're going to make sure that everything's linked up in the descriptions and stuff like that to your play. I see that you guys are doing tours and stuff. That's cool. And
we're
I
going
saw
some
that
really
it's
cool
hospitals
places.
and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Even because I was going to ask about docs, but I remember seeing on your site. So like doctors being educated on that stuff.
yeah.
It's really awesome. But if you could just like let people know kind of a little bit about where to find you, when, like, is it okay if they reach out to you if they're
Of
in the
course,
area like
absolutely.
just newly diagnosed?
Absolutely.
Like,
I'm meeting somebody for breakfast on Friday.
Oh, perfect.
I heard about you, and I don't have anyone to talk to about this, and can we meet and talk? I'm like, of course. Yeah. So lampandlightproductions.com, lampandlightproductions.com is my website, and there's a Parkinson's play link on there, and people can email me or call me. Hopefully my email at least will be on accessible. And I know a fair amount about Parkinson's in Columbus, and I can point people towards support groups. And, I don't get involved in choosing a neurologist kind of thing, right? But the other stuff, exercise is so important. And so I can provide some help and guidance. And man, I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool stuff.
That's great. Well, as we wrap this up here, just, guys, I just wanted to kind of put a button on this and just explain, we're both hope dealers, and we're really, providing this out there. And the best way that you all can help us is by sharing it and letting other people know. Guarantees people listening to this know at least 5 or 10 people that that could benefit from the stuff we talked about here.
Yeah.
And we really could use your help in just like spreading it, sharing these links. If you know anybody going through it, it doesn't just have to be in Ohio. I'm sure they can reach out to you and you can help them connect. I mean, what we're really looking, anybody going through this journey of these different things is for somebody that just provides in like, look, if they can do it, I can do it,
Yeah.
And all of those good things like that. But it's, I just want to like, like I said, just celebrate the stuff you're doing. I think it's wonderful. It is amazing the amount of courage and bravery that you're going through, and the wherewithal to be able to pause and let it soak in to the magic that you're making. And I guarantee that you're changing lives for people that you don't even realize. And the beauty of it is that people that don't even know you right now, you're going to change their life too. And I think that's really, really cool. So I just really celebrate you, and just want to appreciate you for coming in here and spending some time with me. And that was an awesome first chat, man.
Yeah, we went there.
Yeah.
Right. And everything you just said about me, same for you, Jason.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it,
Jason.
All right. We'll see you.
Foxland Media. Think big.